Start recording. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest this week. Welcome to the latest edition of the podcast. My guest is Ehsan Kassim, a beat writer for the Tallahassee Democrat. He's joining me now. Ehsan, good evening, and thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, the thing I looked at this week, when I look at FSU, this is a more explosive FSU than in years past.
Yeah, the offense looks a lot better. It starts with, Jordan Travis looks better. They have a much better receiving core around him, and the running backs are,
How's it going, Hassan?
Well, hold on. We'll open the Q&A.
Sorry about that, Danny. Sorry about that, Danny.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, so they have a better, Jordan Travis looks better. The running back room is better, and the wide receivers have improved a lot from years past. So I can't speak to what they look like years past because this is my first year covering them, but they look much better.
Yeah, the thing I look at right now is when I look at our pass rush is very good, but our secondary is suspect. And now with FSU having the weapons with Travis, the wide receiver, and the running back to make us pay, how will FSU prepare to stop that pass rush?
That's a good question because they've kind of struggled at different points of the pass rush. I think you might see one of those situations where Jordan, takes off his legs a little bit more if he's under pressure. He's done that. He did that against Clemson a little bit and against NC State.
Yeah. And the thing I look at also, Ehsan, also is I look at this could be a problematic for FSU, especially if they're not doing well on first and second down. Messidor may play, we don't know, but that's going to be key. Basically with Taylor on the inside and our methodical offense. We entered this game with a successful play rate of 47.5%, 16th nationally, while FSU's defense has a success rate of 41.5%. How will they try to improve that in this game?
I think it starts with trying to stop the run, which getting Fabian Lovett back will be a key for them, defensive tackle. Without him, they've struggled against the run. Clemson ran all over them. NC State ran without a quarterback. In the fourth quarter, they ran all over them. So Florida State, against the run, has struggled. They did better against Georgia Tech, but there's still questions about that. The secondary is very suspect as well. So Florida State's defense has not been as great as well ahead as their offense this year.
Yeah, a question one of our listeners had on Twitter said, how many NFL caliber players do you think FSU has on the roster? And is there anything we should be concerned about on the perimeter going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, NFL caliber, start with, I think Travis might be a late round pick. If he comes back in the league, he could probably work his stock up a little bit. Johnny Wilson might be a day 2 pick at this point. Jared Verse, defensive end, is probably a day 1 pick. If he keeps ascending the way he has been this year. Fabian Lovett, probably a second day pick. And then other than that, maybe Trey Benson, Trayshawn Ward, those two could probably get in the NFL. I'm not sure if they're drafted, but they probably have an outside chance of getting there. Robert Scott, Maurice Smith, the center and tackle, have a chance of being drafted at some point if they keep up what they're doing. But once again, those are probably late round picks. Jared Verse is probably the only person that you has a legit chance to go in the first round in the next couple of years.
Yeah, basically with Norvell, I'm saying also Norvell. Let's say, what is Norvell's seat like going into this game? Has it cooled considerably, or is it a lost Saturday night and that seat gets hot again?
I think he's safe. I mean, obviously, when you lose a rivalry game to Miami, you got to respond by beating Florida because that's, you can't lose both in the state. That's a terrible look. But I don't think his the buyout's too high for him right now. I just don't see him being in the hot seat. It might be like, next year, it might put pressure on him for next year, but right now I think that seat's cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Norvell's safe right now. And remember, they beat LSU on the road this year in New Orleans.
I think since that game, he's been safe because that was a potentially program changing news, win.
I said at the time, that was like a watermark moment for them. And I felt beating them, that was their signature win. I guess looking at LSU now, I mean, LSU is a top 10 team.
And honestly, that should not have been their signature win. They should have beat NC State.
Yeah, that was
They were the
another
better
one.
team all game, and that's probably the next step they got to take is they're winning games they're supposed to, and they won the 150-50 game, but they have not gone and won the games they're not supposed to win yet. Which would be NC State.
Yeah. Oh, you ready to take some questions from our audience?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's get our first one in there. We're gonna bring in Michael. Michael, you have a question? Michael Schimmel, you have a question for Ehsan? Michael, unmute your mic.
Yeah, just want to know what your guys' health was looking like going into this game, because I heard you guys were pretty healthy, actually, at least compared to Miami right now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Florida State is healthier than they were at the beginning of the year. Going into even the Duquesne game, they suffered some, injuries to the offensive line in preseason camp before I got here to cover them. So I didn't get to see some of those injuries, but the offensive line was a work in progress. They lost 3-4 players, Robert Cooper, different players, and against Duquesne, against LSU, Fabian Lovett went down on the final drive with a leg injury, which he needed to have surgery on. So he's back. Trayshawn Ward practiced all week. He missed the last 2 games. The wide receiver room is about as healthy as it's been. Jordan Travis is not sporting that knee brace for the past few weeks after his injury against Louisville. So defense is as healthy as it's been all year. Offense, same.
Yeah, I think let me ask you, with people talk about 4th and 14 last year. Has that been the talk this week as well? Trying to say the 4th and 14 play?
We asked Jordan that the other day. We got Jordan on Wednesday after practice, and he quickly just played it down and said, that's that shirt, all the merchandise is up to his business manager. He didn't want to talk about it. He said he's focused on the game. Actually, for the most part, Florida State players have been, let's focus on the game. They obviously talk up, they want to play the rivalry. It's an important game, but they've been careful not to bring any bulletin board material this week.
Yeah, suffice it to say. Michael, you have any follow-up? Now we'll go to our next question.
Now I'm going to keep listening.
Okay, good. Next question, we're going to bring in Zaylin Go Canes in. Zaylin, unmute your mic, and you have a question for Ehsan.
How's it going, Danny? How's it going, Hassan? I just want to tell you guys go Canes, and if I had to rip a question, what are you guys thinking? So Jake Garcia is starting Saturday? Yes, correct?
No, it'll be Tyler Van Dyke as of right now. No, I was going to follow up for Ehsan. Has SFSU prepared for both for all 3 quarterbacks this week?
Yes, that's what you're so good at that, Danny. Thank you so much. You read my mind.
Yeah, also with Garcia, with Van Dyke, and with Brown. Has FSU prepared for all 3 this week?
FSU is preparing for all 3. They prepared for all 3 last week with Jeff Sims. And Jeff Sims never played. So, Adam Fuller addressed this at his press conference on Monday. He said, it's really sucks when you have a whole game plan for the starting quarterback who doesn't play. But he said you'd rather be you'd rather be ready for that than not be sorry when the guy shows up then, But yeah, they're preparing, like Tyler Van Dyke's playing. They're gonna be preparing for Jake Garcia, and then I've accidentally called him Jeff Garcia a couple times, and just a slip of the tongue. But and then Ja'Cory Brown they're preparing for as well, so they're gonna be ready for all 3. They're preparing for all 3. They've had practice squad guys imitating all 3 all week.
Yeah, that's pretty important. I mean, Sam, you have a follow-up? Okay, if not, our next question will be Charles. Charles, please unmute your mic. You have a question for Ehsan.
Danny, I gotta run, man. Go Canes.
Okay, Charles, you have a question.
Yeah, I wanted Daniel, what's your prediction for this week?
We'll get to that near the end.
Thanks, Danny.
We'll get that to the end. Do you have a question for Ehsan?
Thank you, Danny. Yeah, what are they expecting from Van Dyke?
Yeah, what are they expecting from Tyler Van Dyke? What the question was.
Yeah, I mean, they've looked at film from last year because, last year I think he had like 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions against Florida State. So they're watching film from that. They're watching film from earlier this year. Personally, I think, Tyler Van Dyke is better than what he's shown this year, put on tape this year. I've always been someone that's admired his game from afar. I think he's a talented quarterback. And I kind of want to throw it to you, Danny. What has gone with him this year that's, why he's regressed this year?
Yeah, I think the thing you have to look at, I don't know, maybe the offense, the new offensive coordinator here, Josh Gaddis. I mean, people, our fan base down here has really criticized Gaddis for the play calling. I think he's maybe regressed this year. I saw him against A&M, and I think he looked a little off to me. And again, Middle Tennessee, And then, Carolina and Duke, the kid Duke didn't play, but Duke got knocked out against Duke. I don't know. I think he looks a little off, but hopefully when he's healthy, he can come back strong, in my opinion. So that's the way I looked at it. Charles, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks and thank you for joining us, son. Go Canes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Charles. Tampa Kane, you're up next. Go ahead. Unmute your mic, please. Hello, Tampa Kane. Unmute, please. Hello, Tampa Kane here he is.
Sorry about that.
You have a question for Ehsan?
Yeah.
Let me spell it. Is it Ehsan? Ehsan?
Essen.
Ehsan. You have a question for Ehsan?
Yeah. How do you think the kicking game's going to play this year with the game?
I mean, a wide right or wide left would be, a fun storyline again for anyone, that'd be interesting. But after Ryan Fitzgerald's early struggles, he's kind of made his last 3 kicks and starting to get going again. He hasn't attempted a long kick in a while, but so it'll be interesting to see. But as the coaches have harped all year in practice, the days we get to see him, he's nearly perfect in practice. It's just when he gets to the game, it's interesting. I think it's probably just in between the ears, those struggles. It's a mental game a lot of times.
Yeah. You have a follow-up for the Tampa King you want to ask him?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Jimmy Ryan, please unmute your mic. You're up next, please. Hello, Jimmy. Hold on. Jimmy Ryan is up next. Jimmy Ryan, go ahead. Unmute your mic. Jimmy Ryan left us. Jack McGrath, you're up next. Please unmute your mic. I think he left. He's gone. So yeah, the thing we look at is the kicking game. I know I've always said in this rivalry, the one that runs the football is going to win this ball game. Do you agree with that?
100%. I mean, I went to Alabama for school, so I come from watching a bunch of running backs. I've always, but the running game is always huge.
Well, yeah, and you look at the last couple. Every time I've always been in this rivalry, the team that runs the football the best and that scores first usually wins this game. That's the way I've seen that.
Definitely agreed.
Yeah. Okay, okay, we got Lorraine. We have Lorraine's iPhone will be up next. She's connecting now, and we'll get Lorraine on in a second. Hold on a minute. All right, Lorraine's iPhone. Unmute your mic. You're on the air. You have a question for Ehsan, right?
Yes.
Ehsan, you have a question for Ehsan, Lorraine?
I do not. I just got on. So let me listen for a minute and I'll see if I have a question.
Okay, sure. Keys to the game, Ehsan. Your keys to the game.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a story this week, just the opposition preview, and one thing I said was, Florida State cannot come out into the game underestimating Miami. You look at the 8 turnovers 2 weeks ago against Duke. You look at the no touchdowns last week and 4 overtimes against Virginia. You got to ignore all of that because it's a different game. It's a different week. I think I was looking at 24 composite talent rankings, and Miami's I think number 12, a few spots ahead of FSU. So it's not like Miami's not talented. They have a very talented group. They have athleticism everywhere. They have a good team. It's just because you haven't seen it in a few weeks on tape does not mean it's not there.
Oh, we know it's there. There's no question about it. Gem Executive, do you have a question for Ehsan? Do you have a question for Ehsan? Okay, whenever he comes on.
Oye, Dani, qué vuelta.
¿Cómo estamos? ¿Tú tienes pregunta? ¿Tienes pregunta?
Tú eres el mejor, Dani. Te quiero, Dani. Te quiero.
In any language, they like me in any language. In any language. I mean, it's a universal language there. But yeah, anyway, I looked at FSU and I said, hey, they're going to have stretches where they move the ball. But if you can't punch it in the red zone, I mean, last week against Virginia, I know it was an ugly game. We kept them out of the defense kept Virginia out of the end zone, only holding them to 4 field goals, 2 in regulation, 2 in overtime. That's going to be a key in this game. can Miami punch it in against an FSU defense? I think a pretty good FSU defense this year, right?
It's okay. It's solid. It's not, the defense is, not their strong suit for sure.
No, and I've looked at our defense. We're 8th nationally in red zone efficiency, allowing opponents to score just 42% of the time. Meanwhile, the FSU defense in the red zone is 80th. How have they worked on that in practice this week, strengthening red zone defense?
They've worked on strengthening red zone defense. They've worked on strengthening red zone offense. That's been a huge point of emphasis on the opposite side of the ball. But yeah, they've been working on that. They've tried to play a bend but don't break defense, but it's been bend and break a lot this year.
Yeah. And the thing I look at when I look at FSU is they allow opponents to really move the ball slowly and take up time of possession. And we're content with that. Now, could FSU create enough takeaways and buckle down whenever we cross midfield?
I mean, Florida State has not, I think, and obviously Miami's is slanted a little bit because of the one game where they had the 8 turnovers,
Mhm.
but so they're, I think it was like 112th in the nation in turnover margin.
Yeah.
Florida State's not much better. They're -2 this year. They lost, and they forced in the past, I think, let's see, go NC State, Wake Forest, NC State, Clemson, and Georgia Tech. In the past 4 games, they forced 1 turnover and turned the ball over 5 times, I think.
Yeah, that's a -4. You're not going to win that way. Anyway, let me get Brockton Miller. And Brockton, you have a question for Ehsan?
No, actually, Danny, I was wondering what kind of bear it was that you.
Okay, nope, he's gone. Nah, I'm sorry about that. Now, Lorraine, I see has her hand up. She has a question. Please, Lorraine, ask a question.
I've got a question for you, Essen. Where does FSU come in against us considering the rivalry? I mean, I think with this game every year, all bets seem to be off, no matter how the teams are playing, because it's such a huge rivalry. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun of a rivalry game. You never know what's going to happen. Right now, though, I think you guys were discussing the line was 7.5 before. I would not be shocked if, Florida State comes in there and wins by multiple touchdowns, but I'll also not be shocked if this comes down to a field goal game, because in the history of this game, it always seems to.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a field goal. I really am.
That'll be interesting. I'm always, I don't, I cover Florida State. I don't root for them. So I always root for a good game, or whichever is the best story, whichever gets me the quickest story, my story done the quickest.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when you look at it, I mean, it's always been the wide right, the wide lefts, the whole bit, it comes down to that. I mean, I don't know. I think this is one of those games. I've seen a lot of people say blowout in this game. I see a lot of people, even our fans, are saying blowout in this ball game. I just honestly don't see it. I think it's going to be one of those things where it comes down to the fourth quarter. And rivalry games, it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and it's going to come down to who makes the plays when the game is on the line.
Well, is Tyler Van Dyke a game time call, or do we know yet?
That's a game time decision. I mean, Mario Cristobal, as our coach, has not tipped his hand this week on that. He says all 3 will see action in this game, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Like you said, FSU is preparing for all 3 quarterbacks this week. Have FSU said who gives them the most trouble of the 3?
They have not said, but I would assume it would have to be Van Dyke, because he's of the 3. I think from what I've seen, he's the best passer, and he's the most can make the most plays. Obviously, Brown as a wildcat guy is for lack of a better term, a wildcat in this. That could wild card. Could change the game as well with 1 or 2 big plays.
Yeah, the thing I've looked at when I look at the keys to this game for FSU, it's like on paper they're saying FSU should win easily. They have the better offense, tougher competition, and when healthy, it's better than their defense is very good. The good news is they've been healthy, but the rivalry games, we both know how it goes. And I want to get, and Ben will come in a second. More impact and have more hope. Our injuries are worse than FSU's are right now. Now the question is, now I hear the Marching Chiefs are not coming this week. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, and I don't know the whole story, so I can't. We'll get too far into it, but from what I understand is, they go to one road game a year, and they went to LSU, and then there's just the funding, funding and different things. So that's as far as I know. So I'm not going to go
Okay,
speculate.
sure,
further than
sure,
that.
sure, sure. All right, post from Ben. You have a question for Ehsan? Hello, post from Ben. Do you have a question? I see his mic is a little down there. Oh, he just left us. So the one key I look at, what we have to do is get off to a fast start. I mean, like I said, whoever scores first in this game is usually one. You did it against Wake, Clemson, and against us. Against the thing is, if we win the toss and we get the ball in the second half, or if you guys win the toss and defer and we get the ball first, it's important for FSU to go 3 and out and for us to get the score right away. But we have struggled to score this year. The thing FSU for me has to do, and I like to get your take on it, is they like to see him score very quickly, back-to-back possessions.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. How do you think FSU will do if if Miami gets the ball first? Why wouldn't they think they would have to go 3 and out?
Yeah, I think they would like to force a 3 and out, or a 4 and out, 5 and out. A quick punt. Maybe you allow a first down, but they want to establish their defense early and get off the field as quick as possible. Because as you mentioned earlier, they do allow teams sometimes to eat a lot of the clock. Which as you've seen, my coworker Carter Carroll's had a great post this week. This Florida State offense is actually matching up to some of the historic ones. Where even without a guy like a brand name like a Dalvin Cook or some of those other guys, Jameis Winston. So this offense is historically great. The more time they get on the field, the better for Florida State. The more time their defense spends, that's obviously good for Miami and their as well for defense and their offense.
Yeah, the thing we have to do, I think for us to win, we have to execute. I mean, we haven't scored 24 points against the Power 5 team this year, and we've only converted 36% of the time on third downs against Power 5, and we haven't scored a rushing touchdown this year. And we only scored 35% of the time we enter the red zone. And FSU's defense, what I've noticed, has allowed 21 touchdowns all year, and teams convert 37% of the time on first downs against Power 5. I mean, it sounds simple for Fuller. The thing is, you have to stop the run. My thing is, for FSU to win, you got to stop the run. For us to win, we have to establish the run. I mean, like I said, we'll play multiple quarterbacks. What will be the key? The thing is, does FSU have to get long drives in order to win this game?
Yes and no. I mean, the long drives obviously helps the defense, keeps them off the field. Because as you mentioned, they have a hard time getting off a lot of times, especially on third downs, they struggle sometimes. But Florida State with, Johnny Wilson had a 78-yard touchdown last week where he made a great move and juked out the defender. Lawrence Toafili, the running back, caught a ball out of the backfield and took it to the house. So they are capable of big plays. Jordan Travis had a 71-yard run against Louisville. So Florida State is capable of the huge play, and they can make them. They'll usually get 1 or 2 a game, but yeah, they do need some longer drives to sustain sometimes.
Yeah, the thing for me is, like you mentioned, the turnovers. Turnovers are going to be key. I know when FSU had that winning streak with Jimbo there, they won the turnover battle. I think for me, the key in this game is going to be turnovers. Who wins the turnover battle? I think if Miami, whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win this game. And I see Mike Burkowski on. So Mike, you have a question for Ehsan? Let me get Mike. Hey, Mike, you have a question? Or Mike, you have a
Hey,
question?
everybody, I'm just getting caught up in the conversation. I don't have a question.
Okay, so you come back. We'll come back to you.
Comments.
Hey,
In the chat, Rain had a question. She asked, "Who are the FSU players to watch?" So on offense, I'll give the Jordan Travis, obviously quarterback, running backs Trey Benson, Trayshawn Ward, wide receiver Johnny Wilson. Defensively, I'll say Jared Verse and Fabian Lovett are the two to watch, and just one for a hometown kid, Kevin Knowles is from from Hollywood, so he plays nickel cornerback a lot. So it'd be interesting to see if he has that up and down season, but it'd be interesting to see if he comes alive a little bit playing in his hometown.
Hey, most definitely, I think the players to watch for sure. Ben Smith, do you have a question for Ehsan? Ben, do you have a question? Ben going once. Lorraine asked the,
Yeah.
go ahead, Ben, go ahead. Hello, Ben, go ahead.
Sorry, I accidentally unmuted.
All right, sorry about that. Sean K, you have a question for Essen?
What? I didn't even say anything.
Oh, I'll say, do you have, if this is a question you have to ask?
Sorry about that.
Sure. Okay, Lorraine, you had your hand up and she had a question. How reliable is kicker?
So like I mentioned, Ryan Fitzgerald, at one point was 4 of 9 and missed, I think, was it 3, 4 kicks in a row and was just struggling. Mike Norvell had just opted to, go for long plays multiple times when he was struggling. He's worked on his technique a little bit and he's made 3 in a row. So, and in practice, he's automatic a lot of times. So I think he's talented. He has the leg. It's just a mental thing with him right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if it comes down to the kicking game, I think the kicking game favors us for sure. I think it favors Borregales for sure. If it comes down
Right.
to, go ahead,
Well,
Lorraine.
these kids are so young. I don't know how many of them know the history of these games coming down to wide right and wide left. So, and playing in that professional stadium, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure. I know Borregales, I think he's up to it, but FSU's kicker, if it comes down to a mental situation, it might be real tough for him.
To be fair, he was he made a kick in the Superdome. So.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that was earlier in the year against LSU.
He did have some luck or some, some experience kicking NFL stadium. So he does have that going for him.
Yes. Okay, great. We're going to get our next question in. And Tamarell, do you have a question for Essen? Please unmute your mic.
No, not at the moment.
Okay, let's get Jennifer Wang. Jennifer Wang, do you have a question for Essen?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, the thing I looked at, Essen, when I watched this game is I see Jordan Travis. I mean, this guy's good. I mean, this guy's very good. So yeah, it's gonna end. We're gonna start wrapping this up in about 5 minutes. So I want to get this. I want to say, what is your prediction? I'll let you out on this, and I'll try to get as many predictions as I can from everybody here. Give me your prediction for Saturday night, and I'll let you out on that.
Yeah, right now I have, I don't trust the Miami offense enough right now to, like you mentioned, they haven't scored 24 points against an FBS opponent all year. I have a 34-24 FSU win right now.
Okay, this will be a great game for sure. I'm gonna get Derek McNeil in one last time. I want to get Derek McNeil in. Derek, you have a question for Essen? I see Sean K raised his hand. Sean, I think Sean raised his hand. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think an interesting aspect would be like including soccer players as well for kickers. I know definitely kicking is definitely important, and when it comes down to where the game relies on kicking, I think it is an interesting concept. I mean, we have there has been like soccer players who have said they would move to football if they could, and I think it would be an interesting concept, and it's something to consider.
Yeah, I will say a couple of Seminoles soccer team all year, women's soccer team. That is a damn talented team, man. That's they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't watch women's soccer.
Okay. So I want to. Okay, so the way I see this right now, I think something tells me rivalry games. You throw stats and records out the window. I think it's going to be a tough ball game. It's at night. It's at home. I mean, this is Mario's first ride in this rivalry. I'm going to say very, very tough game, very close game, but I'm going to say Canes 27, FSU 21. I think it's going to come down to who makes plays late.
I couldn't disagree anymore.
Go ahead. Give me your prediction there.
I think it's going to be the opposite.
All right, and tell me why.
I don't know. I feel like it just is.
Okay, so you have it the opposite. Does anyone else have prediction for Saturday's game? Lorraine had her hand up one more time. So go ahead, Lorraine.
I am picking Miami 17-14. and it's going to be a close game, a hard fought rivalry, and it's going to come down to that last kick.
I think that's where it comes down from it. So yeah, that's why I'm more or less saying like 27-21 Canes win. That's the way I look at it going into this game. So
Who are the big playmakers on Florida State?
yeah, Efton, you want to take that?
Yeah, of course. Obviously quarterback Jordan Travis is, I think, I was looking at PFF numbers. He's top 5 nationally with PFF offensive grade. Trey Benson makes you miss tackles like crazy. Trayshawn Ward's workhorse back, and then Johnny Wilson has been a big wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Mike, you have a follow up then?
What about Pittman?
Pittman's very good, and he hasn't had that breakout game yet. In the past, he's talked about how he doesn't like play, how he didn't like playing in Mario Cristobal's offense. So this week when he talked, he was downplayed the entire thing and didn't want to talk about it. But I wonder if he has a little extra motivation this week.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to start wrapping this up. So we got anyone else has a prediction for Saturday night and a score? Okay, nothing there. Nothing out of him. Nothing out of him. So that's pretty much it for the night. I want to thank Ehsan for coming on. Ehsan, thank you very much. I don't know if you're going to the game on Saturday night.
Yes, I'm driving down tomorrow. I'll be there Saturday.
Okay, have a safe trip to South Florida. Enjoy the game, and let's get this and have a great time down there.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Thank you.